wasn't new to me, but you're teaching on freedom.
Freedom, yeah.
We need to forgive to be free.
Yeah. Yeah, it's for freedom that Christ has set us free, right? You know, Galatians 5:1, a fast little passage. What were we designed for? We were not designed to carry guilt and shame. We're not designed to carry grudges. We're not designed to carry hurts. When we look back at how God designed us, we got to go back to Adam and Eve. What were they designed for? They were so shameless, so guiltless. They ran around the garden naked and had no idea they were apparently naked. I don't know. But they had no guilt. No guilt. We were not designed for broken relationships. We were actually designed for two types of relationships. So I just want to highlight a couple of points. One is that passage that was read. We were designed for a relationship with God. A free, a clean, an open relationship with God where we are fearless to go to Him with anything. That's what we're designed for. Then we're designed for relationship with each other. In fact, you remember the passage when God created Adam, and it says that God looked at Adam and said, "This isn't good. The guy needs friends." So he put Adam to sleep, and I believe the Hebrew word that is we usually translate rib is actually in other places in the Scripture translated side. So he basically pulled side out of Adam, and he made a helpmate. And some people don't like that word, helpmate, or a suitable help. They don't like that. What do you mean, this helper thing? In other words, what it really means is God made someone that made up for all of Adam's lack. And He gave Eve to Adam and Adam to Eve, and they had fellowship. And so that's what we were designed for. Guilt-free relationships, open relationships, relationships without grudges, without bitterness, all that stuff. And along comes the devil, and the devil comes into the garden, and what does he do? He says to Adam and Eve, he says, you don't need to trust God. You don't need to depend on God. Bite this, you can be your own God. Do your own life your own way. They did. And immediately broke that relationship with God, abandoned their faith in God. And then we find God going looking for Adam, and He says, where are you? You're hiding from me. That's not normal. We've never done this before. What did you do? Well, I ate from the tree that I wasn't supposed to eat from. And then he said, but you know, God, it's really your fault. You and the woman that you gave me. Adam starts immediately passing the blame. He starts manipulating. He starts doing all this stuff. So anyway, when we talk about forgiveness, this is one of the things that we learned a little bit this weekend. God is desiring, what God wants to do is He wants to close the separation. He wants to bring us back into this relationship with Him, whereby He can pour His mercy and His power and His love into the relationships we have with each other and restore our ability to live with one another. Anyone here have anyone that's totally, completely safe in your life? I hope some of you do, yeah. This is a person that, you can say anything to, be anything with. Actually, you know what? If we were to survey the average person in town, probably very few people have anyone that they feel they can be totally who they are with the other person, unshielded. Why? Because we have this fear. Because we don't know how people will judge us or what they will look at us like or what they will think about us if they know. The reality is through forgiveness, God comes and He breaks into our life and He says, I know you. I have seen you. I know you intimately. I know you when you sleep, when you wake. He says, you don't even know what's in your own heart. I know. I know what's in your heart. I know what you've done. And it says He loves us anyway. Driven by His love for us, He came and gave Christ to re-bridge this broken relationship so that then we would be free of our guilt so that we could actually interact with other people freely too. We can be safe for them. What else stands out for those of you who were here this weekend?
When we don't forgive others, we only hurt ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, when you refuse to forgive others, we only hurt ourselves, right? Because the unforgiveness aspect, the bitterness, is what destroys us. The bitterness is what kills us. Yeah, Jen?
We lose our ability to be vulnerable and therefore feel safe. We lose our ability to trust and our ability to be intimate.
Yeah.
The cycle of going round and around.
That cycle of unforgiveness, that was sort of an interesting one, eh?
Yes, it's like going around the mountain.
Yeah. So let's, just for those who weren't here, let's draw it a little bit. we started out, we drew a little cycle, because what we want to do is we want to see where are you at in your unforgiveness life? Or say you're in a relationship with somebody. We told the story of a lady who came to one of these seminars. She brought her 10-year-old boy, and the boy slept on a pew the whole time. And we thought, well, he ain't hearing nothing. Turned out he heard more than we thought. She goes home, her husband does something that ticks her off, and her and her husband are in a hard time, and she just immediately flares. And so her husband, he failed her. We call this RF, that's relationship failure. And he did something, and immediately she had her feelings hurt. She felt pain. Then she goes to anger. Why did he do that? That dirtbag husband of mine? He keeps doing that to me. I can't stand that, right? And then she says, well, you know what? That ain't going to happen anymore. I'm going to start to protect myself. So she starts to self-protect. That means she begins to push the husband away, because every time she lets him close, he hurts her feelings, right? So suddenly they're starting to feel a little distant from each other. Then she goes to this suspicion place. Suspicion, we'll call it. Suspicion and fear. You know what? Every time I trust that guy, he stabs me with whatever I trusted him with. And so, you know what? I'm not going to trust that guy anymore. And you know what? Maybe other people around me will too. She gradually got suspicious of everyone around her. And then along with that came what we call loss of intimacy. You know, everybody wants to be loved. This woman gradually began to lose her ability to be loved. Because to love someone or let yourself be loved, you've got to trust people. You've got to choose someone you're going to trust. You've got to let your walls down. So anyway, this lady, you know, as we talk about this loss of intimacy, it actually is the loss of the ability to be intimate, because we get so suspicious of people that we can't let people close enough to be intimate with. Does that make sense? So this woman, she comes to the seminar, and this really stands out for her. And anyway, she goes home from the seminar, and she does what most people at seminars do. 98% of this goes out the window in about 3 days, right? Unless you begin to actually work at it and apply it. But, you know, your memory, you only remember sort of the highlights. So she put her manual away, but her kid apparently heard more than she thought. The husband does something. He fails her. She goes through the pain and the anger and all that stuff. And she's, oh, that husband of mine. Smack him right in the head. And her son steps up and he says, Mom, where are you at in the cycle? And she's going, what? What are you talking about? That guy, that seminar we went to, that cycle thing. And he goes and gets out his manual, because he was given one too. And he says, where are you at in the cycle, Mom? And she says, I'm right here. And what did that allow her to do? You know what? What we do is we get into this reaction mode, and we begin to spool our way into this, and pretty soon we're just going hard at it, and we don't think about it. When you stop and tag yourself, where are you at in this cycle? You can stop yourself and you can decide, am I going to break out of this, or am I just going to keep doing this? So anyway, what she did was she said, you know what? I'm right here. I don't want to keep doing this anymore. I'm going to forgive him. And that's what she did. God brought a little insight to her right here, and she decided she was going to forgive this guy. And she began putting him in God's hands and praying for him. And I've got to be honest with you, I kept up with her for a while, and I don't think the husband changed too much. But she's a whole heck of a lot less angry, and a whole heck of a lot more free than she was. Because prior to this, what she kept taking on, she had to do, you know, I'm going to self-protect. She would manipulate him. She would punish him. She would do whatever she could do. She would kick his butt to try to get him to change. But he's not changing very easily. Finally, what she learned she had to do was right about here, she says, I got to start putting him in God's hands. I got to start forgiving. I got to start letting him go. I got to let God deal with this man. And he's coming around a little bit. But she's a whole heck of a lot more free than she was. Okay, what else stands out for you as we talk about what we learned?
The garbage can.
Garbage can. Oh, the garbage can. I like that garbage can, right? Yeah, garbage can. So, think about the garbage can. You know what? For this illustration, let me use my redneck golf bag, right? This is my redneck golf bag. It's got my bolt cutters. Sometimes it has a rifle in it. Got a diaper in it.
Nice.
Got a hatchet. You know, it's whatever a redneck needs on the golf course. This thing has. So here you are, you know, I don't know, let's use a garbage can instead. Garbage can is all right. We talked about the garbage can, the great exchange. One of the things that Jesus basically taught in the Lord's Prayer is he said this. He said, pray this way. Father, forgive me as I forgive those who have sinned against me, those who have trespassed against me. And then he went on and he reiterated something. At the end of the Lord's Prayer, he said, unless you forgive, you will not be forgiven. And I remember, you know, I was always taught that God's love is sort of, how do you put it? It's conditional. God's grace is given without strings attached, right? And so then I'm thinking, God, but there's a condition here. What's this condition? Unless I do this act for you, unless I perform for you by forgiving this other person, you're going to look at me and say, well, I ain't forgiven you. That's not what it's about. God doesn't have those kinds of motives. And God gave me a little picture of this garbage can. You know, if you think about this garbage can, this is my grudge, this is my anger, and the poison of it is destroying my life. Because anyone here ever met someone who carries a lot of bitterness? And you know how it destroys their life, and you hate being around them. Because all they can do is rag and rag and rag on their bitterness and on what was done to them, and they're just negative, and they're sort of a leech personality. They suck the life out of you, right? And you're just like, oh my goodness, if they could just get rid of that. But you know, a lot of us, we get tied into the grudge. We get tied into what's been done to us. We've taken our identity in it. It's become what we're used to. And it's garbage, it's poison, and it makes us sick. But what if I let it go? That's what God says. He says, until you're ready, he says, your arms are filled with your grudge. Your arms are filled with your bitterness. I would take it from you, but you won't let it go. Unless you forgive, you cannot be forgiven. I told the story of a couple of guys, father and son, who were in the same church, and they'd been sitting on their opposite sides of the same church. And I did this little illustration for them one morning at a church service. And the old guy came up to me, the father came up to me, and he said, so you tell me I can't be forgiven unless I forgive? I said, well, that's what it says. I said, you think you're going to get into heaven without being forgiven? What? You know, actually, Matthew 18 goes on to talk about a guy who his master forgives him, and then he goes out and starts choking somebody who owes him money. And the master hauls him back in and says, I forgave you. You should have forgiven the one who owed you too. And he assigns him all his old guilt and throws him in jail. You know, Jesus said, unless you forgive from the heart, you cannot experience God's forgiveness. This becomes really important. And, you know, understanding this, that as long as you hold on to this, you've got to let this go. You've got to let this go. You've got to drop that. That always jars the odd person. You've got to drop that garbage can so that your arms are open, so that your heart is open to receive the forgiveness God will have for you. Can we block God's forgiveness? Yes, we can. And we often do. So it becomes a matter of our own health. Are you ready to forgive so that you can regain your health? You might not fix the other person. In fact, oftentimes you won't fix the other person. You know, we talked about that this morning. Sometimes we want to forgive. Well, if I forgive him, then maybe he'll do this. No. Jesus doesn't manipulate. We can't manipulate like that. When we forgive, we put someone in the hands of God and we say, God, it's up to you to get through to. Whatever. Anyone else? Anything else that stood out for you this week?
The chain.
Put the chain?
Yeah.
The chain. Yeah, we've got the chain here. We talked about the chain. And along with the chain out of the old redneck golf bag here comes a bolt cutter. And me and Pastor Ken, we got up and cut a couple of links off this chain, right? A guy had asked me one time, he says, well, I can't forgive because I can't forget. Who of us have heard that old, you know, you forgive and forget, right? But the problem is you don't forget, right? I don't forget.
And he comes up to me and he's reading this, you know, and we have all these interesting little sayings that we think are from the Bible. Like, God helps those who help themselves. You aren't going to find that in your Bible, right? Forgive and forget. You're not going to find that in the Bible either. The closest you will get is God casts our sins as far away from us as the east is from the west. But did Jesus actually physically forget what had been done to him? No. The disciples? No. Me? No. So, what does forgiveness do? Well, forgiveness takes unforgiveness. Forgiveness takes grudges. And grudges are actually a sin. It's a sin to hate someone Christ died for. And those grudges, what's been done to us, are like a chain. They have strength. And they bind us. And they hold us back from stepping into the freedom God wants for us. When we allow forgiveness to come along, forgiveness is like having somebody come along with a bolt cutter. You hand them the chain, and that's what you have to do with Jesus, right? When we forgive, dear Jesus, I give you this chain in my life, this bondage in my life, this hatred, antagonism, whatever. And Jesus, it says, forgives that. He applies his power to it. And what we end up with is this. These little chain links. Now, it's interesting to me because these chain links, the chain is all still there, but something's different about them. What's different? They lost their power. Their power to bind has been broken. I did this little presentation with a group of college and careers age students, and they're like, what? Yeah, this is what Jesus does. You still can walk around and you still have the memories, but the memories don't have you anymore. So a buddy of mine, he goes, yeah, this was my addiction to crack cocaine. This one was my hatred for my mother. This one was what was done to me by my brothers who stole all my stuff. This was, you get what I'm saying? Forgiveness actually transforms your wounds into your testimony. God doesn't expect you to forget, but he does expect to allow him to destroy its power to oppress you. So, turns into something that God uses to glorify himself. This little group of college and careers kids afterward, they all came up to me. I got up a bunch of chain. Hey, we want to make necklaces out of these. We're going to wear these things around as a sign that God has broken our bondage and given us a testimony. What else stands out for you as we go through this weekend? What's that? The diaper.
The difference, yeah.
All the things that we learned about the diaper, eh? I wrote a sermon inside one of these one time when I was off speaking. Showed everybody. It was all printed out. Anyway. What do I learn from the diaper? One of the biggest things that we learned this weekend, I think always, and whether you'll notice back there on that table, there's all these different seminars. There's a porn seminar. That's a scary one. There's a demonic seminar. That's a scary one. There's a forgiveness seminar. That's the least scary one, sort of, but actually the most intensive one. But they all come back to a little bit of this. What do I learn about the heart of God changing diapers? And I learned a bunch of stuff. I learned that every time you add people in a family, they come with lots of messes to clean up. And God ain't stupid. If I know that about my kids, God knows every time when he added me to the family, he's been cleaning up my messes ever since. God is not scared of having to clean up messes. How often will God clean up messes? Every time you ask him. That's what he says in 1 John 1:9. Confess your sins. Tell me what you've done. I'll clean it up, right? All he needs is that cry. All he needs is that willingness, right? Who here's ever ran into that toddler that hides behind the television and doesn't want his diapers changed? Yeah. We do that. You know what I mean? There's so much you can learn from diapers. Eh? What do you got to do? Romans 5:20, one of my favorite verses. How do you clean up a kid? I used to think, if we could design a diaper that would just slip off, it had little scrubbers around the waistband and self-sealing legs, and you just pop the kid out of them, and it's like, throw that thing away, and it would have little perfume poofers that would puff out a little bit of perfume. You'd never be able to afford one of those diapers if they did design it. Anyway, how do you clean a diaper? You open it up, you expose the mess. That's Romans 5:20. And so oftentimes we're the toddler that's trying to hold the diaper shut. Lord, change me, but don't expose the mess. It'll embarrass me. God's going, I gotta expose the mess to access it, right? And so Jesus, what do? This is what's been done to me. This is what I have done. Here I am. And God, you know, the interesting thing, the next thing I learned about in that is God never mistakes me for what I've done. Just like I reach into the middle of the mess to save and cleanse that baby I so love, I never mistake the poop for the kid. He may have produced the poop, but I never mistake him for it, right?
Yeah.
It's the old thing about throwing the baby over the bathwater. Don't be doing that, right? So much you can learn from a diaper, you know, and just how much God desires, and He knows us, and He understands us, and He is not averse to get His hands dirty. You know, when we change diapers, we would get our hands dirty all the time. What did Jesus do on the cross? Well, he got his hands dirty. And He's okay with that because He loves us. So, what else did we deal with a little bit this weekend? What's that? Forgive me.
Dough in the yeast.
The dough and the yeast. Oh, yeah. Yeah. One of the things we talked about is that process, right? So, you know, I used to be a baker, and we used to take this big mixer full of yeast, or dough ingredients, and for 10 minutes, we'd pile the flour to it, the yeast into it, the water into it, we'd pound it in the mixer for 10 minutes. That would activate gluten, it would do a number of things, but it would also pound the yeast all the way through the whole block of dough. The whole 600-800 pound pile of dough would be yeast laden. And that's a little bit sometimes what it feels like for us. You know, you go, well, I forgave one person, or I forgave someone else. Or some of us that carry a lot of guilt. Who carries lots of guilt? We got to forgive ourselves. Once, twice, 3 times. I remember praying that, God, I've done this 4 times now. I forgive myself 4 times. I've accepted your forgiveness 4 times. When is it over? Well, when is it over? We actually have to learn the discipline of walking in the forgiveness. Because, you know, you're never going to stop stumbling. Otherwise, you know what? If you stop stumbling in your life, you become convinced you didn't need God to do it on your own. God will actually allow us to stumble to keep us aware that we need Him, that we need His mercy. And so this whole working forgiveness through our lives, or, you know, I run into people that, you know, they've spent their whole life betrayed and abandoned, and the stuff that's been done to them is incredible. And they could not face everything all at once if you pulled it all over the table in front of them. And so what God does is He says, we're going to start with this thing. He'll reach into a life and He'll bring up a memory. Or He'll bring up this broken relationship. And He'll say, can we forgive this? Can we grant mercy here? Yes. And we work through that, and you do that. And then He'll reach in and pull up another. And what is God doing? Like the baker working the yeast through the dough, He is working His salvation, His saving power, His forgiveness through your whole life. And it's a process. And it doesn't happen all at once. Sometimes you see those guys with those big testimonies. God broke into a part of their life where the freedom was just so extreme. It just went, wow! And it was awesome. And then you get a guy beside him, that would be me. God broke into a boring area in my life. You know? And it wasn't so awesome, but it was still life-changing. We all have those times where God breaks into the really awesome areas of our life and some of the more boring areas of our life. But it's part of that process of taking His forgiveness throughout and making us free, bringing the life to us. Anything else that stood out for you as we...
Your teaching on forgiveness isn't fair, mercy, that was powerful for me.
That teaching on forgiveness, I've said this over and over again this week. Forgiveness is not about fair, it's about mercy. And a big thing that hangs us up is I want fair treatment. And a lot of us get downright manipulative. Because I know what I want, and I will do what I have to do to get it, right? And there's a time and a place when, in order to experience the freedom God made you for, you have to look at someone who's hurt you and you have to say, that wasn't fair, but I don't care anymore. I'm not about getting fair treatment anymore. I need the mercy of God. We're actually going to be dealing with that this afternoon, and I invite you all to come because that's the next step we're getting into. Forgiveness is not about fair, it's about mercy. Receiving it and granting it. Anything else?
Being stuck in the ruts.
Okay?
Being stuck in the ruts.
Being stuck in the ruts. Oh, yeah. You know, when you get stuck in the ruts, I drew a little picture on the board here. about the old roads. Going to my grandfather's farm. I remember as a kid we used to get out there and we'd slide around on those old muddy roads. Apparently they didn't have much gravel back then. Anyway, Grandpa used to talk to me about the ruts, and he says, you know, how the ruts in the road, you could drop your wheels into those ruts, and in an old Model T, which he used to run, he said, the ruts were just, everybody had vehicles that had the same wheelbase. You just drop into the ruts, and you'd open up the old throttle, and you sit back, and it would just take you wherever the ruts went. And that's a lot of times what we're like. We develop these ruts, like, you know, that cycle that we drew. Once a person goes through that kind of a cycle, they gradually get used to that kind of cycle. Who here knows that you have ways of handling offense that you do all the time? Yeah. Somebody comes to you and gives you a little bit of input. I'm rejecting. Boom, I come out defensive right now. Eh? I have ways of dealing with things that I do all the time. How do you get rid of those ruts? Well, Grandpa said, you know, first, it's not so easy to get out of them. Sometimes it takes a bit of work. You got to jack the truck up out of the ruts. So you stop the truck, jack it up out of the ruts, knock it off its blocks, and then you're free to drive away. But then you've got to get rid of those ruts. And it takes a regular, you don't just get rid of them all at once. The grader comes along and it takes him several passes to carve those ruts down without destroying the road bed. So again, what you're going to want to do. Same thing with that cycle. Remember when we were going down that cycle here, and this woman decided right here she's going to forgive. She made a practice. Every time this husband does this and I get to this anger stage, I'm going to turn to God, I'm going to hand God my anger, and I'm going to start to forgive. And she began this discipline, and over the span of the next month or two, she changed the ruts. She changed the way she behaved. So psychologists will call it behavior modification, but this is behavior modification on steroids because the Holy Spirit is helping you do it.
Amen.
Yeah. Any other thoughts?
The cycle of unforgiveness, the checkboxes that came with that, life's marked 5.
The cycle of unforgiveness, which?
There's 5 things that says if you're stuck in a cycle of unforgiveness, your life will be marked 5.
Yeah. Bitterness and anger.
Frustration, loneliness, dissatisfaction, and that will.
Yeah. You know, that's a good thing. Sometimes people will say, well, I don't have any unforgiveness in my life. And I'm going, really? Like every word coming out of you is attacking toward this certain person. You're always angry. You're always unsatisfied around them. You're always bitter. You remember how Jesus said a tree will be known by its fruit? Well, when the fruit laying around your feet is anger and bitterness and malice and whatever else, that usually means that there's some unforgiveness issues there. And we're going to actually be talking a little bit about how to target that this afternoon as we go through a little diagnostic process. Do I have unforgiveness? I had one guy come to this seminar one time, and he walked in. I think I got it pretty covered, he says. And then he went through this little seminar, and we went through the little diagnostic process. Holy smokes, I got everything on this list, he says, right? You guys all know what holy smoke is, eh? You know what holy smoke is? Revelations, it says the prayers of the saints go up from the altar of God like smoke. So actually, holy smoke, that's prayers. Right on. You didn't know that, did you? Anyway, all right. I had to explain that because I had a lady one time get kicked off of me. You just swore in church. What? No, I was talking about prayer, man. All right. Anything else stand up for you? Yeah.
You're aware of the story in Saskatoon about the father carrying on because of the accident, young family was killed.
Yeah.
There are so many issues that we have to deal with, whether it's legal issues or mad matters, what's against drunken driving, assisted suicide.
Yeah.
How do you deal with issues like that? And if you don't have fire in your belly, you can't fight, can you?
Yeah. So there's spiritual and social, right? I had a group of guys. I was teaching a group of African pastors, and one of them said, "We have an elder in the church who he touches young ladies, and then he says he's sorry. What do we do?" I said, "Well, you forgive him."
on a spiritual end of things. You have to forgive them. But then I said, take away his opportunity down to the social level to touch young ladies. You get what I'm saying? Take away his opportunities. If you have a dog, if you're a farmer and you have a dog that kills chickens, what do? Well, some farmers will blow away the dog, right? Well, we like this dog, but he kills chickens. So what are we going to do? We're going to pen the chickens up, or we're going to chain the dog up. We take the dog's opportunity. We'll forgive the dog for the chickens he killed. But we're going to take away his opportunity, right? Like, when I hear that question, I hear the difference between spiritual reality and social consequence. Okay? When you run into somebody who they keep doing stuff over and over, and they don't seem to learn, you have to forgive them. Jesus says, how many times, the disciples said, how many times should we forgive? 490 times a day, he said. I don't have time to forgive people 490 times a day. What Jesus was saying is, you just forgive them ongoing. That becomes a bit of a growth thing for us. But we also understand that there are social consequences. So they had a guy in Rwanda. I was over in the Congo. This guy was part of a Rwandan military group, and he had killed people and raped women. And interestingly enough, rape is a new thing over there. It's only come in the last 20 years or so. And it's a psychological warfare thing. A lot of it's tied into witchcraft. And the witch doctors over there teach the soldiers that if you do this, you will gain victory. So they do this systematically. Anyway, this soldier had been involved in all that kind of stuff, and he got saved, gave his life to Christ, and he comes to the church and he says, will you please forgive me? I have done this. I give my life to Christ. So then this pastor asks me, he says, so what do? We forgive him and then we pretend he didn't do what he did. What do? Because there are consequences. I said, this is what you do. You forgive him spiritually. You have to forgive him. Even with the heinous nature of his crime, if he's truly repentant, he gives all that sin to Jesus and he gets forgiven. And then you get to stand alongside him while he stands before the judge. And if he goes to jail, you feed him in jail. You take care of him in jail. You don't let him live that alone. But you walk that consequence with him, right? You get what I'm saying? There are times when we forgive people, but we walk out the consequences with them. They are now our family, and we are now their support as they do that. This is difficult. This means we can't just give little platitudes, oh, I forgive you. This means we also have to invest in you.
So on both sides of the line, you're not condoning what they did.
No.
And so often people think if I forgive someone,
Yeah.
I'm saying what they did was all right.
Yeah.
You're not saying that it's all right.
And you know what? An abusive personality or a control-based personality will say that to you. If you're a woman in a woman in an abusive relationship, and you say, you know, okay, I'm done with this, right? And you step out of it, then the controller will look at you and say, but you